I don't know about you guys, but I love Illustrator. I don't know, I don't know how to explain it, but I love the program. I love being able to get in here and just kind of play around and work with this and that. And one thing I want to show you in this tip is just how to add some different effects to text, meaning how to go in and do something like this to just straight text by adding a series of extra strokes or fills or both, and using a couple different other things. So, all right, let me do this. I'm going to go in and type in. We're going to show you some awesome text. Literally awesome. So type in awesome. Just took the type tool and typed it in. And what I'll do is I'll change the font size here. I'm using a shortcut, you guys, keyboard shortcut, which is Control-Shift on Windows or Command-Shift on Mac, and the less than, greater than symbols, which is the comma or period, to make it bigger or smaller. And I'm going to change the kerning, which is Alt left arrow or Option left arrow on Mac, and make it a little bigger. And I'll change the font. I'll come up top. I got Myriad Pro. I'll go with Myriad Pro Bold. That is awesome. Okay, now let's take the text and do something to it. Now, the great thing about working with Illustrator is the fact that we can use the Appearance panel. Now, I love the Appearance panel. The Appearance panel is one of those panels that I never used in the beginning. I really didn't understand it, to be honest. And it became more and more powerful as Illustrator versions went on. Now, the way this panel typically works, just a kind of a quick overview, is when you take the selection tool and you click on something, it usually shows you that object and says, oh, well, that's a type object or this object or that object. And it says, oh, well, there's something inside, almost like it's grouped. There's characters inside. If I come to characters here and double click, you'll see I can select what's inside of that type frame or text box. And you'll see I got my stroke and fill as well as my opacity. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting to look at the Appearance panel and see what it's telling you. Now, we could change the fill and stroke and all that stuff of the text right now, or we can just do this. I'm going to go to the black arrow again. You can hit escape too. And you'll see that we're back on the type object. We can add strokes and fills directly to the object right now and just kind of cover up the default color. That way you can use it as a graphic style or do a bunch of different things with it, etc. If you look at the Appearance panel, you see at the bottom, in later versions of Illustrator, we have, I think it's CS5 and CS 5.1, which is whatever. I believe we actually have these in CS4 as well. So add new stroke and add new fill. If you guys are in previous versions, you can also come up to the menu out here and choose add new fill, add new stroke in the menu. Now what I want to do is I'm going to add a new fill. Click on that. And you'll see it immediately adds a stroke and a fill to the type object. Now I'll come into fill here and choose something. Like I actually set up a bunch of colors you guys can use. This fill overrides the fill you put on the text if you have to actually select the text and go somewhere else and fill it. It's kind of weird, but anyway, that's the way it works. And the stroke here, I'm just going to put a nice little stroke. We'll put a brown, whatever. That's awesome. Now I'll change the size of it, make it a little bit bigger, something like that. I don't know, whatever. Now what's great about working with text is the fact that we can add multiple strokes and multiple fills. That's how I got this effect. So to do that, if you come down to the bottom, you can see I can just keep on clicking on Add Stroke, and it keeps piling on the strokes. Now what's interesting about this is the fact that this stroke right now is on top of all the other content. So watch, I'll change the color of this stroke to black just so we can see it, and you'll see it's on top of the other stroke. Okay, now watch what happens when I change the order of these two. I'll just drag them in order. You'll see the brown's on top now. Okay, so that's something to think about. So we've got the stroke here on top and the black behind it, etc. What I want to do is I want to take this brown stroke, make it really big. We're going to put it behind, like make it look like that back there. So what we can do is take that stroke and make it big, pull it down, and actually bring it below the fill. Cool. So you've got stroke on top of the fill on top of the other stroke. Now with these strokes, you'll notice we can click on these, and a lot of you guys have probably seen this before. But if you see the blue underline text, you can change, go and round things. You can, do whatever's possible here, I guess. So I'll make that a little bit bigger. Nice. Then we can change colors. You can do whatever you want, okay? I'll make that black stroke a little bit smaller. There we go. Now I'm going to add one more stroke. So I'm going to come down to the bottom here, click Add New Stroke, and I'm going to put the light yellow color in there. So I'll do like a light yellow. Awesome. I don't mean that, sorry. And I'll make it a little bit smaller and maybe round it. So I'll click on stroke, There's a lot of ways to do this, you guys. We can go in and around stuff, etc. Now, I want to take this yellow stroke and I want to pull it inside of the black stroke. So we've got all these piled on top of each other. What we can do is you can also click on one of the strokes or fills and basically move it. So if you come down to the bottom, you'll see the effects. This is like going to the effect panel, you guys. I'll click on effect, or the effect menu rather, sorry. And if you see here, you'll see path. This is one of my favorite features in Illustrator, to be honest. Offset path. I love this thing. If you choose offset path, it's going to take whatever path you have selected, stroke, fill, whatever, and allow you guys to offset it. Now, by default, it's 10 point, but what I'm going to do is click on the word offset to change the value, and you can just use your arrow keys up and down to move it. You can go negative, you can go positive, you can kind of pull it around, do what you want to do. There we go, that's awesome. Now I can go in and change the joins. I could say, let's make them round it out. You can see the rounding on there. Or if you want to do mitering or beveling or anything like that, you can kind of set those up too, which is kind of interesting. All right, cool. I'll click OK. So once we apply strokes and fills, if you want to change, let's say you want to offset these, you can also take a look and you'll see that you can offset each one. If you want to offset, let's say, everything or apply some kind of effect to everything, you can also do this. This is kind of interesting. If you click on an individual stroke or fill, and you apply an effect, it applies to just that one object. Then it'll kind of be buried underneath. It'll be inside of that one part of the object, I should say. But if I click on the word type, come out here, I'm selecting the entire object, not just one of these things. I go out and do something like click on the effect and go to, I don't know, stylize drop shadow, throw a shadow on there. This is going to look kind of stupid, whatever. I'll turn on preview or select preview. You can see it happen. I'll click OK. And there we go. We can see that anything down below here is going to be applied to everything. So we've got a nice drop shadow on it now. So there we go. You can reorder these. You can add almost as many as you want. Now, last thing, why would I have two fills on this? This is what I used to always wonder. I was like, why would I do that? Well, let me do this. I'm going to click on Add New Fill. It's getting a little crazy, you guys. I know, I admit that. But the fill is covering everything else up. I'm going to go in here and do something like throw a pattern on there. That is totally awesome. There we go. Now what I can do is adjust the opacity. If you open up fill here, adjust opacity, you can do something like, let's blend it. You can multiply it with what's behind, or lighten it, or do an overlay, or something like that. There's some really cool things you can do. Just kind of stick it in there. Then you can change the opacity, kind of bring the opacity down. Now, you guys, I'm clicking on the word opacity and using my arrow keys or my shift key and just kind of clicking down arrow or up arrow, and now that is totally awesome. There you go. Sorry, I know I keep saying that, but there we go. You guys can use, obviously, whatever colors you want. It's your design, you know, go crazy, but I just wanted to take you through how to do some really cool things to text.